Bases dropped on a Friday morning here in Atlanta, Georgia. Soccer Down here is live for April 26th. Jason Longshore, John Nelson here with you this morning. It's an odd feel to a morning and a weekend coming up because this is an odd match that will be at Mercedes-Benz Stadium on Saturday. It's the Colorado Rapids coming to town. They are in last place in Major League Soccer. Not all that far ahead of them is Atlanta United, who is hosting them, and that's not where anyone expects to see the Five Stripes. The game has a very, I don't know even how to describe the kind of feel around this. I mean, edgy. I don't know if it's, I don't know what the soundtrack would be for this. It's not completely goth. There's a little bit of anger to it. I mean, maybe it's the Dead Boy Sonic Reducer. I don't know. There's definitely a vibe right now, and it's not one that has generally been associated with Atlanta United. I was asked yesterday if this was a must-win or if you push the panic button afterwards and all those kinds of things. It's so early. No, I don't think you push the panic button if you don't win here. I called it the deeply concerned button. That's right next to it.
I was going to say a concern button, yeah.
Yeah, it's the deeply concerned button. But this is a game that you have to win. This is a game that you should win. There's really no excuse for it. Dallas is a completely different opponent that you saw last week. Dallas is a very good team. I think that was lost in the shuffle a little bit with everything last weekend. Colorado's not. And Colorado's missing Jack Price, their defensive midfielder. I don't know what they're going to do coming into it. I would assume they're going to have to make a decision in how they replace Price, and it's going to be either just slot in someone new into that role and continue, or drop another center back in as well to give you a little more security. Last time Colorado came to Atlanta, it was a different manager. It was Pablo Mastroeni in 2017 in his final year. It was very defensive. They did have a couple of chances going the other way. A long-range, hopeful shot went off the top of the crossbar, and a ball over the top that looked like there could have been a handball involved. Joshua Gatt brought it down and took a shot that Alec Can made the save. Beyond that, it was all Atlanta United, but it took until the middle of the second half to break through. And if you remember, it's the one where Brandon Vasquez cuts it back to Joseph Martinez in the 18. He does the little pull back to create space to his left foot, beats Tim Howard. Atlanta wins 1-0, and Joseph nearly burns his hair off. It was that game. Then last year, you go out to Dick's Sporting Goods Park, and Atlanta did what they have not really been able to do this season outside of the second leg against Herediano. They scored early, and they scored often. And it was 2 goals from Miguel Almiron, 1 from Tito Villalba, all in the first half. And it was as comfortable of a win as you'll find. Game was over by halftime. Second half was played at a canter, and it was an easy 3 points for Atlanta United. They need something like that here. They need something to continue to build the positive feeling that players and Frank de Boer talked about yesterday with the media. They need an early goal. They absolutely do not need to concede an early goal. 4 of the 5 losses have seen a goal conceded in the first 20 minutes this year across all competitions. 3 of them have seen a goal in the first 10. That's unacceptable. Start has to be better. If you don't concede, that's a step in the right direction. If you score early, I think things are going to be just fine. But you have to come out of the blocks with a better start than we've seen since the Herediano game at Kennesaw.
Do you still have in your mind the idea that you had from the full-time report last time out about how Colorado is going to show up and have a formation?
I mean, formation, no, because of price. You don't know how they're going to deal with that. But it's either going to be 4 or 5, and they're going to sit deep, and it's going to be 5 or 4 in front of them, and they're going to sit deep. They could go with 2 up top. They could play with Diego Rubio and Kai Kamara. You could play 4-4-2, that it's 2 blocks of 4 that sit deep. Rubio kind of drops into the hole, and Kai Kamara is your focal point up top. They could play a 3-5-2/5-3-2, which is the same general principle. It's not so much formation. Formation doesn't matter here. It's Colorado's going to sit and defend. Colorado cannot come in here expecting to find 3 points. They're not Dallas. They're not Philadelphia or Cincinnati, to be honest. They're the Colorado Rapids, and they've won 8 games under Anthony Hudson. A point is successful for them. They're going to come in and defend. Now, understand me when I say this, when I say that they're not coming in here to look to win the game. That's about how they're going to come in here philosophically. They're going to come in and defend first. It doesn't mean they can't win the game. They can hit you on the counter. They can score on set pieces. They're not coming out here to impose themselves on this match. They don't have that ability. They're going to sit and defend first. That's their job coming in. So whether they do that out of a 3 center back setup that's going to look like a line of 5 most of the time, or a line of 4 that sits deep with a line of 4 in front, the question really about Colorado is what they do with the Jack Price absence. It's not like Colorado generates a ton of chances through the run of play, but Price is a player who can sit in front of the back 4 and defend, but also spray a pass and pick out a pass. If you drop Kellen Acosta into that role, you're taking away some from him, and he's not as strong defensively. I'm fascinated to see what Anthony Hudson does with this, because we've tried to figure out what Anthony Hudson wants to do with this team, honestly, since the midpoint last year. And I don't think we really have any, deeper answers as to what that is. You miss Price, it's a big miss. You don't really have center backs who have speed. So you're going to have to support them. And it's just the question of, do you do that with an additional center back, or do you do it with deeper midfield support in front of them? Because that's the one thing that Colorado is going to have a lot of problems with tomorrow is Atlanta's speed. And Atlanta's speed of play as much as speed of foot.
There's a question on the board, and you can either give the answer now or tease the answer for later.
Okay.
Nathan Pugh with a thought, and also Katie Weaver has a thought about the experience in general tomorrow.
Okay.
Nathan says we need a quick goal and an easy ride tomorrow, but should FDB manage his lineup tomorrow with an eye on Sporting, Toronto, and Orlando? Get Escobar out there, give Parkhurst a rest so he can go 2 or 3 times in a week.
I don't think you can, and that's the problem with where you're at because of the results. You can't look ahead. You have to get 3 points here, and I've always been of the mind when you're looking at what's coming up. So you have the week coming up with the trip to Kansas City for next Sunday's match. Then you come back with Toronto at home. Then you have Orlando at home. Then you're going to Vancouver. Then you can't get caught up looking ahead. You have to look at the games in front of you, and you need to pick up 3 points. The game that you have the greatest likelihood of all of those to pick up 3 points is tomorrow. You have to make sure you get those 3 points. You put that in the bank. You go to Kansas City. Maybe you do play a little more defensively in Kansas City. Maybe you do sit a little bit more. Maybe it looks somewhat like it did at Monterrey at times, which did create some chances. Let's not forget that. But it was defense first. Maybe that's how you do it. Maybe that's how you manage it. You have Toronto coming to town. Toronto's been inconsistent, but Toronto has been very good for the most part. They've dropped some points in some surprising ways. The draw to Chicago was an odd one to me. Josie Altidore is probably touch and go for the trip to Atlanta with his hamstring pull. Probably unlikely. That helps you a little bit. You have to beat Orlando at home, and then you have some tough travel games where you go to Vancouver, you go to Red Bull Arena, you go to RSL. The best team you face out of all that's Toronto. All of those are winnable. But the way this team is played, all of them are losable. And that's the issue with where you're at. You need to get some positive momentum, and you can't sacrifice any potential for getting that with any, I'm going to hold this guy over here to get ready for Kansas City. I just don't think you have that luxury right now.
And with the experience in and of itself, Katie Weaver, bringing a friend for her birthday to the match tomorrow. She's not been to the Benz or a pro soccer match, doing the Gulch Tour, maybe the March, post-game question mark, whole experience. But have I made a terrible mistake taking her to the Colorado game? Please tell the team to score lots. Section 2.
I'll pass that message along.
Yes, that's Section 2. I went into a long explanation of teams' current struggles, and she says, I don't care if they win, just excited to go. Atlanta United has to keep this, the hype, match day experience. Hoping the fans bring it Saturday for the team and for Rachel. Let's win a convert! !
Yeah, and there's lots of Rachels in the crowd. There's lots of that. This is where, it's not telling people how to be fans, but just understanding that the fans do have the power to create the atmosphere and create it in whatever way they want. If the team on the field is struggling a little bit, the fans have the choice. If they want to express their frustration with the struggles on the field, that's their right. If they want to, try to rally the team on the field and make more noise and get louder and try to lift them up, that's their right too. I hope that it is a positive vibe in the building to try to lift this team up and give them a boost. I hope that's the feel. If it's not early on, then the players have to go and manufacture that, and they're going to manufacture that through goals. So, you can't. You go into it and you don't know what the crowd is going to be like. It's the same for a band, who's going into a show. Like, especially, bands, you don't really have this type of situation with a band who's, struggling at the moment.
Van Morrison.
In what way is Van Morrison struggling at the moment going into a show?
Well, you don't know. Well, what I'm saying is that with Van Morrison, you don't know which show you're going to get because sometimes he can come out there.
That's not where I'm at. It's not that, because the band can do what the band does. It is, and I'm not talking about that side of it. I'm talking about if you're the band and you come out, and especially when you're an up-and-coming band, you're trying to prove yourself. And right now, Atlanta United's trying to prove themselves. All right, so you're getting a little bit of buzz. You're going to hit the stage in a new town, and you don't know what kind of crowd you're going to get. You don't know if you're going to get a crowd that's going to be singing along to the hits and just rowdy and into it, and everything you do is perfect and it hits and the crowd reacts the right way, or if you get a crowd that sits back, crosses their arms, and says, "Show me." You don't know. When you hit that stage, you don't know. And that's where Atlanta United is right now. They don't know what they're going to get. And that's down to the results that they've been putting out. That's absolutely true. But they don't know what kind of reaction they're going to get. They don't know what the reaction is going to be to an early chance. They don't know what the reaction is going to be to an early chance for Colorado. They don't know. And I think they have to come into this with the mentality that the fans need to see it first before they're going to buy in and give you all of that love that you're used to. The fans are going to sit back with their arms crossed a little bit and say, "Show me." And Atlanta United has to do that. That's where you're at tomorrow. They have to prove it. And it's a little surprising, this is my opinion, it's a little surprising that you're at that stage, even with the results you've had in 2019, based off 2018 and based off 2017. It's a little surprising that you have to show it right now. But this team does. They have to prove it to this fan base. And they have the ability to. They have done it in the past. They've done it in flashes this season, but not enough in a consistent 90-minute performance. That's what's needed tomorrow. They have to hit every moment in the match to get the maximum reaction out of the crowd. It's going to be interesting to see. Early goals can definitely do that. And that's why sometimes when you see a band go into a place like that they're not as known or they're trying to make a point, they drop a hit early in the set. Sometimes when they're at home and they know they've got a hometown kind of crowd, they might save those hits for later and build to it. Atlanta needs to drop a hit early in the set. They need that number one song to drop in the first 10 minutes. They need a goal. They need a goal early. They need to change this vibe. It's going to be interesting. We will be talking all about it in hour number 2 with Mike Conti and Doug Roberson joining us. But next up, we're going to go through the MLS schedule this weekend and get you set. There's a lot of tasty matchups around the league, and we'll give you a heads up on what we think about them right after this.
Today's show is presented by Appolinsky & Associates, personal injury lawyers with over 30 years of experience, supporters of Atlanta United, Faction, and Inter-Atlanta Youth Football Club. If you've been hurt in a wreck, contact Steve today at steve@aa-legal.com or call in 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
A ranger station.
I'd like to report a bear hug.
Okay.
I put out my campfire and Smokey Bear hugged me.
So you drowned the fire, you stirred it, drowned it again, and felt that it was cold?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, he's just letting you know you did good.
Bear hug from Smokey Bear. Status update.
I'm gonna let you go now. There are many ways to start a fire, but one sure way to put it out. Learn how you can do your part at SmokeyBear.com.
Sponsored by the U.S. Forest Service, Ad Council, and your state forester.
We know that every driver is different, and a one-size policy does not fit all. That's why Country Financial offers a variety of discounts, so you get the coverage you need and the savings you deserve. From good driver to good student, multi-policy to multi-car, we've got a discount to suit every driver. Call Jason Wright at 678-568-6871 today to see what you could save. On Facebook at Jason Wright Agency or by phone at 678-568-6871. Discounts vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Preferred Insurance Company, or Country Casualty Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Every hiring manager knows that a company is only as good as the people it's made from. So where do you find the best people? That may surprise you.
Meet the grads of life. Young adults of unique determination and experience. An ideal fit for your company in an entry-level position, internship, or even mentorship. They might not have every qualification you typically look for, but they're exactly who your company needs.
This is talent worth knowing about.
Go to gradsoflife.org to learn how to find, cultivate, and train this great pool of untapped talent. Brought to you by the Ad Council and gradsoflife.org.
Welcome back. Big weekend preview. We're going to start with Major League Soccer. We talked about these matches from a fantasy perspective yesterday. Let's talk about them from a soccer perspective. No matches tonight on the MLS docket, but it starts tomorrow at 1 o'clock. Orlando City going to Yankee Stadium to face NYCFC. NYCFC got the win on Wednesday, 1-0. Not dominant, but they did get the win. Orlando comes into this, and I think we're still kind of trying to figure out who they are. I mean, it's loss, it's win, it's loss, it's win, it's loss, it's win. It's up, down, up, down. NYC comes in. They haven't lost in their last 4. 2 draws, 2 wins, back-to-back wins. I think you have to consider NYC as the favorite here just because Orlando is so unpredictable right now.
And for me, I just, not knowing what Orlando is and seeing what Hebert and Matricia can be in early returns, I'm looking at the 2-goal victory, 2-0, 3-1, something like that. But I've got full points going to NYCFC here.
I'd say full points to Toronto as well. They host Portland. The Timbers did get their first win of the season last weekend, but I don't know if we're going to know who the Portland Timbers are until the summer transfer window. They're still trying to get Brian Fernandez from Necaxa out of Mexico. There are reports that he might leave before the playoffs in Mexico and join before this transfer window ends in the next, I think it's about 10 days now. That would surprise me. Money talks. It always does. We know this. But I would be surprised if they can pull that off. They still need a center back as well. I just don't think the Timbers are going to be the Timbers until July. maybe even August, and they've just got to try to stop the bleeding as best they can. The only question for me in this one is Toronto without Josie Altidore. Is it Jordan Hamilton, who had the 2 goals against Minnesota? Is he going to step up here? Because you don't have Toussaint Ricketts as that obvious plug-and-play anymore. So who is it in place of Josie Altidore, and can they replicate Altidore's strong play so far early on?
Toronto's at -175. The information given is for information purposes only, unless you believe in doing those other kinds of things. And I've just, you look at someone like a Pozuelo, and I've just enjoyed what he's been able to bring to the table so far. But, who's his dance partner going to be with Josie dinged up? And can you then in turn, if you're Portland, kind of pin Pozuelo in and force everybody else to beat you? And I think it's getting to that point right now. I've still got Toronto winning this one. Once again, I'm looking at a 2-goal margin somewhere in there. I don't even know if Portland scores. So I guess by default, I'm looking at 2-0 Toronto.
One of the wildest games of the weekend will be in Frisco, Texas, FC Dallas and San Jose. If you haven't read some of the responses from Seattle players about their match with the Earthquakes on Wednesday, basically they're like, we've never seen anything like this. What's going on? What are they doing? They're chasing us everywhere. What's happening here? Welcome to the San Jose Earthquakes under Matias Almeida. Almeida ball is a thing, and it's different. I mean, people are comparing it to. It's not exact. Okay, I'm going to make the comparison because I haven't seen it directly compared to this. But Georgia Tech football with your triple option back in the day.
Yeah,
they've moved on from that. But when you played that triple option team, you didn't have time to prepare. You were in the middle of your season. You don't have time to really prepare for that, and it can throw you. It can mess with you a little bit. That's kind of San Jose, because if you have time to plan for it and work on it, okay, you can do some things. And Seattle did try to do some things. It was kind of interesting. They used Nicholas Ladero as a false 9. Kim Kee-hee was stepping up into the attack because he was the guy who was unmarked. And I think Jordan Morris was out wide on the left to try to draw attention away, because it's man-to-man marking all over the field except for one player. And that was Kim Kee-hee, the center back. So when you play San Jose, who is Dallas's unmarked guy going to be? I think it's probably going to be Matt Hedges.
Yeah.
I'd be fine with Matt Hedges with the ball at his feet, and I think you're going to mark everybody else. It just comes down to a game of individual battles. And San Jose's used to that, and they fight, and they scrap, and they claw. And full credit to Matias Almeida for making players who are not familiar with that buy into it, and it's working right now. The duo of Shea Salinas and Danny Houston is tied with the duo from LAFC, who everybody is talking about, for goals in the month.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're doing things. The Quakes are doing things. Are they a gimmick like the triple option? Or is this something that can be sustainable? It's too early to tell. But Dallas and San Jose should be a lot of fun, because you have a lot of players for Dallas who want the ball at their feet. They're comfortable with the ball at their feet. And they have the confidence to say, all right, come step up high on me and mark me. I'm going to dribble past you, or I'm going to pass it through you and make a run, and you're going to be toast. So this should be a very entertaining match on Univision and Univision Deportes, and on Twitter. You can watch that with English language commentary on Twitter. So 3:30 kick, highly recommended. That will be on in the booth at Mercedes-Benz. I can guarantee it.
Yes.
5 o'clock, probably not the most entertaining match. Vancouver hosting Philadelphia. I'll see what the final score is.
Yeah.
Not that excited about it.
Nope. Your draw option for either Philadelphia or Vancouver ranges from -182 to -200. The win option for FC Dallas is at -200 when you're looking at the game against San Jose. And you had mentioned the triple option, and what had popped into my head was 40 Minutes of Hell from Nolan Richardson.
But that's not as gimmicky, and that's the difference to me. Like, that is more of the Red Bulls press, which is a press and a difficult one, but you see it. This is definitely more gimmicky. Nobody plays this. Nobody in the world asks their players to play man-to-man all over the field. Maybe in very short bursts in a match, maybe in very specific instances, not from minute one. So it's even beyond something like that. That is Jurgen Klopp, that's the Red Bulls, that's Borussia Dortmund, that's that type of style, the 40 minutes of hell type of thing, the press. This is beyond that. This is a whole nother level of chaos. Philadelphia has won 3 of their last 4. We do have to give them credit there. They beat Montreal last weekend 3-0. They lost to the Galaxy, but they beat Dallas. Dallas had a few players out due to breaking a team rule that were suspended for that match, and they beat Cincinnati. So some okay wins in there. They got to go out to Vancouver and get a job done here. Vancouver's only won once this season, but it was against LAFC. They did lose 1-0, put up a good fight in Orlando. Maybe Vancouver's turning a corner. Philadelphia is still in show improve mode a little bit. I don't really know where this one is going to go. I would not touch it if I was going to talk to my local bookmaker. I would run screaming from this one. Not touching it.
Yeah, I don't have any players in my Jason Wright agency SDH
not even talking
fantasy
about
league.
fantasy. I'm talking about the result. I mean, the fantasy side, fantasy's a whole different ballgame. That's you can't look at games in the same way if you're talking about who's going to win and who's going to score fantasy points. This one, from a winning standpoint, from a player standpoint, yeah, I could see a low-scoring game. You could play a goalkeeper, you could play a defender from fantasy, sure. But from a who's going to win standpoint, I have no idea. Not touching it. Not touching it at all. Red Bulls hosting FC Cincinnati. Red Bulls have lost 4 of their last 5. They haven't won in their last 5. It's bad. 8 goals in 7 matches. They've only conceded 9 in 7 matches. Lots of narrow losses. And the Red Bulls, the Thierry Henry stuff appears to be completely swept under the rug. Haven't heard anything else about that since the Red Bulls made their statement. Cincinnati has lost back-to-back matches. They've lost 3 of their last 4. 2 teams really struggling coming into it. You have to give the favorite tag to the Red Bulls. I mean, you just have to coming into it. But I don't know if I trust them. I haven't really shown anything to trust right now.
Nope. But right now, once again, for information purposes only, a -182 for Red Bulls to win this one at home.
Red Bulls scored 4 times against San Jose. And if there's a team that probably is conditioned to deal with that type of style, it's the Red Bulls, who play not the same style, but a pressing style. And they also played Almeida in CONCACAF Champions League last year. So a little bit of flexibility, a little bit of understanding of what's going to happen. So they scored 4 times there. They've scored 4 times in their other 6 matches. The goals have completely dried up. Actually, they scored twice against Kansas City, so that's 6 of your 8 goals in 2 matches. They were shut out by Orlando at home. They were shut out on the road in Chicago. They scored once against Minnesota at home, and they were shut out in New England. Bradley Wright Phillips has to get going. They have to make some decisions on how they're going to play and who they're going to be. They should be able to do that against Cincinnati, but I don't trust it.
Nope.
And your other 2 games Saturday night, it's just, Red Bull Cincinnati, it's another one that I don't like it from trying to make a pick on it. Houston hosting Columbus is an intriguing one because Columbus is coming off of a disappointing loss on Wednesday. Houston did not play midweek. Columbus has to travel. I think Houston's a pretty clear favorite here. And I think they're a better team if you played this on a neutral site with everybody having the same amount of rest. You give Houston the advantage of rest and the home match. I think the Dynamo are your favorite here.
-134 for Houston to win outright, the draw or Columbus option.
As I would have thought.
Yeah, +110 the draw or the crew. But I'm with you. I look at Houston and Columbus coming off of a midweek match, and I'm leaning toward Houston full points here. I think because of Zach Steffen, I think it'll be tighter than some folks might anticipate, so probably something 2-1-ish.
3 straight losses for the Crew, 2 of them at home. And the Dynamo have won 3 of their last 4. They are coming in off of the loss to the LA Galaxy last Friday night, but I think they played well in that one. So, yeah, Dynamo, in my mind, is a much bigger favorite than whoever your bookmaker source is.
Bet365 is where I'm looking right now, because it was an easy one to pull up in a hurry.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. Sporting Kansas City hosting the New England Revolution is the last game of Saturday night.
Woof.
Kansas City, how long is the CONCACAF hangover going to last for them? New England, bad. Bad, 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 bad. They got a win over Minnesota. They somehow got a clean sheet win over the Red Bulls. And they were shut out by Columbus. They were shut out by Atlanta. They were shut out by Montreal.
Has anyone seen Cody Cropper?
We'll see if he's in the lineup. I don't know what Brad Friedel does at this point. He did an interview, I think, with 98.5 in New England Thursday, and all the comments I've seen from the interview were basically like how sad he sounded. I mean, Montreal. We'll talk about it in a minute, about their travel ridiculousness. More details came out about it. They got to the hotel 4 hours before kick. They were trying to have the game not played because they shouldn't have been played. And New England was outworked by Montreal and lost 3-0. I don't think it all of a sudden turns around for New England going to Kansas City. I think this is a game where Kansas City starts to feel right again, and that's not good for Atlanta United because Atlanta goes there on Cinco de Mayo. So anyway, Kansas City would be my favorite.
Minus 225, Sporting to win.
Yeah, that's about where I would expect it to be. We're going to take a break here. We'll come back and we'll go through Sunday's matches, and we'll also let you know about a new opportunity if you are into the daily fantasy soccer thing. If you're into that, we've got an opportunity for you to double your money and also support a pretty cool new local app that's out there. So hang tight, and we'll let you know what's going on with that right after this.
As a business owner, you know that every year brings new challenges and opportunities. The success of your business demands expertise and focus, and Country Financial can help you keep that focus by helping ensure you have the right insurance protection in place to meet your goals. Jason Wright can help you create a customized insurance plan that has coverages designed just for your business. Give Jason a call at 678-568-6871 or reach him on Facebook at Jason Wright Agency. Coverages vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Got issues with youth or high school sports? Positive Coaching Alliance can help. PCA is a national nonprofit working to transform youth and high school sports so that every child has a positive character-building youth sports experience. PCA provides live and online workshops to train double-goal coaches whose first goal is winning and whose second, more important goal is teaching life lessons through sports. PCA also has workshops for parents and high school student athletes. For more information, please visit positivecoach.org.
If you've been hurt in a car wreck, contact my friend Steve Apolinsky of Apolinsky & Associates. He's been representing individuals for over 30 years throughout Georgia and Alabama. Email him at steve@aa-legal.com or call him 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
I adopted Bento in 2010 from a shelter. This cat makes me make art. He's always motivating me to draw pictures of him. He just is motivating artistically. He's my best friend, but a lot of people know him as Keyboard Cat.
Keyboard Cat, YouTube star and shelter pet. Amazing adoption stories start in shelters. Start yours today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org to find a pet near you. Brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
Welcome back. Getting you set for the weekend around Major League Soccer. 4 games on Sunday to discuss. Montreal doesn't have to travel this time, luckily for them. They host the Chicago Fire at 12:30 on Sunday. The early kick, the lunchtime kick in Montreal. It'd be nice to have some crepes, then head over to Stade Saputo. That's a good afternoon in Montreal, and I think it'll be a good afternoon for their squad as they get the win, in my opinion.
All right, so let's see. Bet365 has the Impact only at -134.
Yeah, it's a narrow one. Chicago is better. Nico Gaitan is a good addition to them. I want to see how that Dax McCarty, Jordi Mihailovic, Nico Gaitan midfield continues to gel. Nemanja Nikolic getting service again. I'm sure he's happy about that. CJ Sapong's redemption tour continues. And Chicago is a team to keep an eye on. But I think Montreal at home, boosted by the result on the road after all the chaos. They've got a lot of good feeling coming into this one. And Chicago is coming off of a disappointing 1-0 loss at Yankee Stadium where Veljko Paunovic was sent off late in the match. I think Montreal gets the win. I think they go 2 for 2 for the week.
Yeah,
Minnesota. What do you think?
2-1. Yeah. No, I was just going to say I think it's another 2-1-ish kind of a thing. And Gaitan has wasted no time being the most expensive Chicago Fire player in fantasy.
Yeah, I mean he should be 2-1 or 1-0. I think it's a narrow one, but I think Montreal wins it. Minnesota hosts DC United. Wayne Rooney makes a trip to the Land of Lakes. What do you think about Minnesota at this point? So, scoreless draw against LA. I think there's a lot of positives for Minnesota out of that one to hold LA completely scoreless. Disappointment that Minnesota's strong attack doesn't get on the board, but I think they've got to feel pretty good about it. But DC's got to feel pretty good. They're coming in after a 1-0 win in Columbus. Didn't do a ton in the match, but Wayne Rooney scores on a free kick from just outside the top of the 18. DC has been the better team this year. Minnesota at home, you would think, would get a boost. It really feels like a toss-up.
Yeah, and just to add to all of the possible shenanigans, I'm going to our local weather website to try to figure out if there's going to be any weather issues there. But for me, I thought it was going to be a draw, and I'm of a mind that it was going to be another one of those wacky 3-3s just because of what we've seen from Minnesota offensively and what we can see from DC.
Yeah, I said bet the over against the Galaxy, and it ends up being a scoreless draw, so I'm not touching that one with a 10-foot pole.
Down there, yeah. So Sunday, it is cloudy and a high of 50, so it will not be an issue at Allianz. So, yeah, I was thinking another 3-3 wild one, but right now, even money for Minnesota to win outright, draw or DC United option is at -120.
Yeah, it feels like an even money kind of game. That should be an entertaining one, though, and it is on national television as well. So on the lookout for Minnesota and DC on Sunday. Later in the afternoon, the big game of the weekend, Seattle Sounders hosting LAFC. LAFC thrashed the Sounders last Sunday. LAFC travels, but they didn't play in the midweek. Seattle had to deal with Almeida Ball and the onslaught of the Quakes on Wednesday and fight back to get a 2-2 draw. Any advantage that I feel like Seattle would get from being at home dissipates a bit because of having to play in the midweek. Anything LAFC gets here is a bonus. I think they come in and play pretty free, and I think LAFC gets the win.
Okay. Right now, your full-time results for one team or the other to win outright from Bet365, Seattle's at +140, LAFC's at +170. The draw option for either team is from -175 to -209. I just think that the backline for Seattle is porous and coming off of a midweek, and I've got to go LAFC here for the win.
If I was feeling frisky, that LAFC number is probably the best one I've heard so far. That's a pretty good line. That's intriguing. LA Galaxy hosting Real Salt Lake is your Sunday nightcap. RSL is a team that I'm intrigued to watch. Mike Petke is a very entertaining manager. He's always going to have some interesting things to say. I just have no idea what they're going to be week to week. And they're traveling to L.A. The Galaxy are going to be a little ticked off because they did not provide Zlatan service, and he was not happy about that on Wednesday. They go to Minnesota, and they don't put anything on the board. They walk out of there with a point, but it's not the kind of point that you feel great about. It feels like a Galaxy comfortable win, but with RSL, who knows?
Yeah, I think I've always thought that this one was Galaxies to win and then work your way backwards. Right now, the Galaxy are at minus 182 to win outright.
Yeah, that seems about right. I have no confidence in what RSL is going to do week to week. They lost 4 straight. They've won back-to-back. I mean, it's just all over the place. Coming in good form, But the Galaxy, again, I do think they have the most talent in the Western Conference. They had won 5 straight before the draw in Minnesota. I'll be keeping an eye on that one, but I'm not touching. I'm not going to visit Bet 365 on it. I can tell you that much.
No.
If you guys, this is a little different than the team side of it. If you've not heard of myprizepicks.com, go check it out. It's a local Atlanta-based company, and they make daily fantasy really easy to get involved in. I think most people have probably dabbled in the different daily fantasy things, and there's not a lot of options when it comes to soccer and MLS. But My Prize Picks is all in on Major League Soccer, and they'll be adding the Premier League and Champions League and other things as they go. But we have a promotion going with My Prize Picks. If you sign up and you use the code SDH, you get 25% of your deposit matched up to $4,000. It's a $1,000 promo. You also get a free entry to win $25 to get started. It's really easy. What I like about it, and I've done this because they have all kinds of sports, is it's just simplified. You are looking right now at the 8 players that are on their MLS board. And let's take Joseph Martinez, for example. His fantasy projection is 5 points on My Prize Picks. All you do is if you like that number either from a positive or a negative, you pick Joseph Martinez and you say he is going to be over that number or under that number. It's just an over-under pick. The way the scoring breaks out in My Prize Picks, you get 5 points for a goal, 3 points for an assist, 1 point for a shot, 1 point for a shot on goal, -1 for a yellow card, -2 for a red card. And the players have to start the game. If they don't start the game, the pick is canceled. The entries are reverted. Now, you pick 2, 3, or 4 players, and you go over-under on each one. It doesn't all have to be in the same sport either. You can pick Joseph Martinez. You can pick an NBA player you like. You can pick a baseball player you like. Hockey's in there as well, MMA, PGA, all kinds of different options at My Prize Picks. But the more you pick, like if you pick 4 players, for example, the more money you can win if you get all of them right. You can go as few as 2 picks, and you get less money if you win it, but it's a little bit easier to win that. So you've got 8 options on the MLS side. You've got Joseph Martinez and Julian Gressel on the board. You've got Wayne Rooney and Luciano Acosta on the board. You've got Nicolas Ladero, Darwin Quintero, Zlatan Ibrahimovic, and Carlos Gil on the board. And you pick your over-unders on them and see if you can win some money. But if you use the code SDH to get signed up, you'll get some of your initial deposit matched, and you'll get a free roll, essentially. So go check that out if you're feeling squirrely this weekend. There is an iOS app that you can download for My Prize Picks. You can also just play it at myprizepicks.com. Check it out. Cool Atlanta company. Actually, a lot of the people that are involved in it are very involved in the Atlanta soccer scene. So excited to see them continue to grow. And for me, John, I just like that it's easy. Like the stuff with some of the others, it's complicated, and you're constantly checking back and forth. It's easy, and I think for MLS, it's very easy. For example, your number on Joseph Martinez is 5. for this week. If you think he's going to score, he's going to beat that number. If you think he's not going to score, all right, is he going to have 5 shots? Is he going to have 5 shots on goal? Okay, that's the way you're thinking about it. Wayne Rooney, it's at 11. Is he going to score twice? Is he going to have a goal and a whole bunch of shots? Is he going to have some assists? Luciano Acosta, it's 3. An assist, he's good. He matches the number. Then you need some shots and whatever to go over it.
Zlatan's a 4.
Zlatan's a 4. If he scores, you're over. If Zlatan gets a goal, you're over. That's a very intriguing number to me. Just my gut reaction looking at it is Zlatan with the over and Carlos Heel with the under. That would be my 2 picks out of the 8 that are on the board. And the players that are on the board will vary week to week. The midweek games will be in here too. And again, you don't have to just pick this. If there's a NBA player and all the point stuff's explained really easily on my prize picks. If there's an NBA pick you like, you can match up Zlatan with an NBA player and with a golfer. And if you hit the over-under on all of them and you get your picks right, you can win some cash. So check out myprizepicks.com. Great local group getting started in the daily fantasy game. And use that SDH code to get some free opportunities to win some money. That's always fun for me. I like that. Free is good.
There's even an option having to do with esports.
Yeah, I know nothing about that, but it's there.
I don't even. I know.
It's there. You're into the esports, you can do over-unders on the esports. You can combine an over-under pick on Zlatan Ibrahimovic with Ionic.
Yes.
Ionic, who is going up against the Pittsburgh Knights. I don't know what any of that means, but
nope.
You could do that. You could combine an over pick on Zlatan with an over-under on Steph Curry. You know, you've got options. So go check out myprizepicks.com. Use the code SDH and let us know how you like it. I've enjoyed it. It's fun. I just like that it's easy. I like the over-under side of it. It's an easier way of looking at it for me. So I dig it. Check it out. We're going to take a break. We're going to come back with some news from around, not just MLS, but also around the country when it comes to the game. And we have Mike Conti coming up at 10 o'clock. We have Doug Roberson coming up at 10:30 to get you set for Atlanta and Colorado. We'll be right back.
Today's show is presented by Appolinsky & Associates, personal injury lawyers with over 30 years of experience, supporters of Atlanta United, Faction, and Inter-Atlanta Youth Football Club. If you've been hurt in a wreck, contact Steve today at steve@aa-legal.com or call in 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
A ranger station.
I'd like to report a bear hug.
Okay.
I put out my campfire and Smokey Bear hugged me.
So you drowned the fire, you stirred it, drowned it again, and felt that it was cold?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, but he's just letting you know you did good.
Bear hug from Smokey Bear. Status update.
I'm gonna let you go now. There are many ways to start a fire, but one sure way to put it out. Learn how you can do your part at SmokeyBear.com.
Sponsored by the U.S. Forest Service Ad Council and your state forester.
We know that every driver is different, and a one-size policy does not fit all. That's why Country Financial offers a variety of discounts, so you get the coverage you need and the savings you deserve. From good driver to good student, multi-policy to multi-car, we've got a discount to suit every driver. Call Jason Wright at 678-568-6871 today to see what you could save. On Facebook at Jason Wright Agency or by phone at 678-568-6871. Discounts vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Preferred Insurance Company, or Country Casualty Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Every hiring manager knows that a company is only as good as the people it's made from. So where do you find the best people? That may surprise you.
Meet the grads of life. Young adults of unique determination and experience. An ideal fit for your company in an entry-level position, internship, or even mentorship. They might not have every qualification you typically look for, but they're exactly who your company needs.
This is talent worth knowing about.
Go to gradsoflife.org to learn how to find, cultivate, and train this great pool of untapped talent. Brought to you by the Ad Council and gradsoflife.org.
Welcome back. Soccer Down here, final segment, hour number 1. Let's get caught up on some of the news around the league and around the American soccer world, nearby Atlanta, actually. Let's start with the MLS stuff. We mentioned the Montreal travel nightmare. The craziness of this thing, and there's a great piece over at The Athletic about all of it. The flight was delayed to Boston on Tuesday. All the guys are at the airport. Then it's canceled, so they have to go home. And, I mean, it sounds silly, but having to figure out what you're going to eat the night before a game, there's planning that goes into all this. And guys are probably going home and stopping by whatever fast food place is open because it's 10, 11 o'clock at night. Then you're just turning around, going straight back to the airport in the morning. Then your charter flight's delayed because they won't let you land at Boston. So you have to land somewhere in the middle of nowhere, but you can't go through immigration there. So you have to go back through the immigration in Montreal and then fly. So you get to the hotel at 3:30. The game is at 7:30.
Uh-huh.
Now, there's two things to it. Sometimes crazy travel happens. We all know that. I know that recently. But
yes, you do.
Sometimes it's completely out of your control, and it just happens.
But don't you want to be proactive as a league/organization in this to make sure that there are ways to get around this so you're not pinned into a corner like Montreal seems to have been?
Yeah, and they tried to. I mean, having more charter flights doesn't necessarily solve this problem. It didn't solve it when you scrambled the charter together to get there the day of the match because you had other issues that complicated it. I still don't think everybody would charter every flight. It's very expensive. So you're still going to have these things. And this charter to the match and back home does not count to their total, which is very, very nice from MLS, but still. It's difficult. I think the game probably should have been postponed. That would have been your better bet. But, yeah, you have broadcast issues. You have spectator issues, although there weren't a lot of spectators to consider in this one. And, yeah. Bad situation all the way around, but the Impact made the most of it, and it might have broken New England. Yeah. It might have just completely broken the Revolution. We did not get a chance because it dropped right before the games on Wednesday. We have not talked about Kaku and the suspension that was announced for him. 2 additional games on top of the 1 for the red card. So a 3-game suspension. Very surprised. Very, very surprised. I thought 6 was my number, and people said that was low. I thought 6 was where you would be. The Kansas City Cauldron, the supporters groups for Kansas City, issued a statement complaining about the way it was announced and the way it was handled. And a couple of things from that. Players have their own union protecting their interests, as do referees. When we look at past decisions the disciplinary committee has made and compare it to this decision, the influence of these groups become clear. In October 2017, an Atlanta fan who hit a referee with a cup of beer and was arrested, charged, and banned for life from games. There's no union to protest that. That happened. And as the Cauldron says, an action that was considerably less dangerous than what took place in Kansas City had much more dire consequences for a less egregious act. You put a fan at serious harm. I agree with the Cauldron when they say that. And the punishment is equal to using inappropriate language on the field, according to the Cauldron, which is right. And they're not the same thing. 2 games is not enough. 2 games is just, it's not enough in this situation. You needed to make a very strong statement that this is unacceptable, so anybody who would think about losing their head and kicking a ball into the stands would think twice about it. I think the league got this one wrong. And we don't know the process. We don't know if it was originally 6 or 10 or 15 or 20, and it was brought down on appeal. We don't know. But the fact that it only ended up at 2 is not enough.
My number was 6 like yours. And I mean, if the individual that was struck by the ball ends up with health problems because of this, and doctor visits and things like that. I mean, how does that get addressed? You hand a bill to Kaku and sit there and go, here?
More than likely.
And then, how does it get answered? But I think that for me, 6 would have been right there in that wheelhouse. But I think that as a player, you ought to know better. But there are players who apparently don't, and you end up with a situation like we saw with Kaku. And it's disappointing for me more than anything else that when you come up with equivalencies, then it's just as easy for me to drop an F-bomb at an official than to cause physical harm to a fan by launching a ball in the stands because you're having a moment of impetuousness and immaturity on the field. And you'd like to think that adults know better, but sometimes we find out that adults don't.
Yeah, it's frustrating. I'll be very curious if any word comes out about an original suspension and what an appeal might have brought that down to. We'll have to wait and see if any word comes out there. A couple things on stadiums. So Paul Tenorio had an interview with Merritt Paulson from Portland that is a must-read over at The Athletic. And he talked about expanding Providence Park, but also some of the reasoning why, and it's to be viable in a league that is bringing in larger revenues, and you have to be able to compete. Portland's one of the top teams in the league when it comes to salaries. They're one of the top teams in the league when it comes to spending, but they were maxed out at their stadium. Paulson said they never had an unsold seat in the prior configuration of the stadium. They had to increase the seating, and one of the reasons why was they took, and Paulson says, 6,000 seats, and they allocated it to supporters and general admission pricing, which is less than they could have gotten. LAFC has a smaller stadium, but they have a lot of premium seating, so they drive a lot of revenue. So Merritt Paulson adding these seats and adding premium seating there too, because, hey, that's part of the deal. That's going to allow them to spend more money down the road. All makes a lot of sense, but it's a very interesting behind the scenes on the thought process there. Now, the process in Chattanooga is a little different. Chattanooga Red Wolves announced yesterday that they are building a 5,500-seat stadium, which is not news. They had talked about doing this, but it's going to be in East Ridge, Tennessee, a little bit south of Chattanooga. And it's part of a $125 million development that Bob Martino is building. It's got mixed-use housing. It's got office space. It's got retail. It's got restaurants. It's got hotel. It's got green space. It is a big development. The soccer stadium is not a $100 million stadium. It's a 5,500-seat stadium. But it's part of this overall development. It's going to give the Red Wolves roots. And the Dalton Red Wolves will play a couple games there. The Chattanooga Lady Red Wolves and the WPSL will play there. It is another step for the lower division teams that, we've talked about it for years with MLS. Building stadiums, building infrastructure, puts down roots and gives you permanency that maybe soccer hasn't had in this country in the past. Now that's starting to happen with lower divisions. We see it in Statesboro. Now we're seeing it in Chattanooga. We'll see it around the rest of USL League One. It's a big deal in Chattanooga, and we're going to have a 1v1 with their president and GM, Sean McDaniel, coming up soon on the network, hopefully later today, to hear a little bit more about how all of this came together and what the future looks like for the Red Wolves and for soccer in Chattanooga. But now we got to take a break. We've got to get set, recharged, ready to go for Mike Conti to join us. Mike Conti's coming in hot after about 4 or 5 hours of NFL draft coverage last night from Mercedes-Benz Stadium. So we'll help him get set, and he'll help us get set for Atlanta and Colorado on Saturday at the Benz. Hang out with us. We'll be right back.
As a business owner, you know that every year brings new challenges and opportunities. The success of your business demands expertise and focus. And Country Financial can help you keep that focus by helping ensure you have the right insurance protection in place to meet your goals. Jason Wright can help you create a customized insurance plan that has coverages designed just for your business. Give Jason a call at 678-568-6871 or reach him on Facebook at Jason Wright Agency. Coverages vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Got issues with youth or high school sports? Positive Coaching Alliance can help. PCA is a national nonprofit working to transform youth and high school sports so that every child has a positive character-building youth sports experience. PCA provides live and online workshops to train double-goal coaches whose first goal is winning and whose second, more important goal is teaching life lessons through sports. PCA also has workshops for parents and high school student athletes. For more information, please visit positivecoach.org.
If you've been hurt in a car wreck, contact my friend Steve Apolinski of Apolinski & Associates. He's been representing individuals for over 30 years throughout Georgia and Alabama. Email him at steve@aa-legal.com or call him 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
I adopted Bento in 2010 from a shelter. This cat makes me make art. He's always motivating me to draw pictures of him. He just is motivating artistically. He's my best friend, but a lot of people know him as Keyboard Cat.
Keyboard Cat, YouTube star and shelter pet. Amazing adoption stories start in shelters. Start yours today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org to find a pet near you. Brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
You're listening to Soccer Down Here daily on SDH Networks, a division of OSG Sports. Find us at Soccer Down Here on Facebook and Twitter. The time is now the top of the hour. Peep, y'all.
Hour number 2. It's a Friday. We kick things off with our friend Mike Conti from 92.9 The Game. What's up, Mike?
Hey, guys. What's going on?
Not much. How was the vibe at the Benz for the NFL draft show on 92.9 last night?
Did you see the video when they picked Fritz Lidstrom?
I did.
Yeah.
I don't know if apoplectic is the right word. Just stunned.
Cringy, I think, would be the cringy. A good soccer term. Cringy. I don't know. It's that damn goal horn. That's what gets me. It's like they draft a guy that no one in the building has even heard of, and then
oh yeah, wail on the horn.
Goal horn, and everyone's confused. So, but it was fun being there last night. It's amazing how many Falcons fans and even people who work for the Falcons are curious about what's up with Atlanta United. Are they going to get this turned around? Is it time to panic? Got a lot of questions about it last night. So I love to see how people who aren't primarily soccer fans really, really care about what Atlanta United is doing right now and are showing genuine interest. I think it's just one more piece of evidence that Atlanta United is absolutely the fourth major league team in this city. Not that we ever debated that, but I think it's just more confirmation that they're right there on the same level as Falcons, Braves, and Hawks as far as interest in this town.
Yeah, when they bring these 2 draft picks down to hammer in the golden spike, which will probably happen, it makes a lot of sense to do it. They might have to reinforce the platform a little bit, and they might have to reinforce the actual spike itself, or maybe get an even more Nerf hammer. I don't know.
These
are some big boys.
Yeah, well, they've had some big boys drive the spike recently.
They had one big boy, actually.
Yeah, BOI.
There we go.
Right, yeah, no, that's true. Yeah, the actual big boy. Good point.
Yes. It's gonna be fun when they get a chance to see what the Benz is like for soccer before they see it for the Falcons. What's it gonna be like this Saturday, though, in your mind? I mean, this is a weird vibe right now with the Rapids coming to town. It's not an exciting matchup from that perspective, but it's a game with a lot of angst attached to it.
Yeah, it's tense, isn't it? And I think every minute that goes by with Atlanta United not leading is going to make it even tenser, if that's a word. And look, I think, first of all, brilliant move to open the roof tomorrow. I think even just to have a little bit of a change in atmosphere from that respect is a really, really good idea, just to change things up a little bit. They're wearing peach. I know, again, that has no bearing on the outcome of a match, but it just changes the feel a little bit. I think that'll be very helpful, although I know that was planned months in advance. Look, you got to jump on these guys early. They've given up by far the most goals in MLS this year, by far. You have got to jump on these guys early. If you go out, you score 2 quick goals, then I think we get back to the whole Atlanta United is fun again discussion, and things just lighten up dramatically. And then maybe you even see the players having a little more fun, enjoying themselves. All of this attacking soccer that we've seen in the last couple of weeks, would you say that it looks like they're having fun out there? I think you'd be hard-pressed to say that they look like they're having fun for 90 minutes. No one could have fun in Columbus, by the way, in those conditions. But no. It's tense. You got to go out and you got to score early. And, if Colorado wants to go out and play 5-4-1 and put everyone behind the ball, okay. Then do what you can to get a penalty or a set piece and really just break the ice quickly. Because the longer this goes with the score at 0-0, or God forbid Colorado even 1-0, then it's really going to get restless in there. And I think that's something that players can feel, and it's not going to be helpful.
And we use the following information for information purposes only, and take said information at your own peril and working forward. But Atlanta United at -300, Mike. What do you think about that to win?
Oh, boy, I've lost so much money over the years that I don't do that.
But just
anymore.
In general, the idea that confidence level is at 30 to get 10 back.
You know what, though, John? I know the bookmakers are employed for a reason, and they're very big, fancy, opulent casinos in Las Vegas because the bookmakers are really good at their job. But do you think a neutral bookmaker in Las Vegas is more plugged into how things feel right now with Atlanta United than the three of us?
Yeah.
Or anyone else here in the city of Atlanta that covers the team, not just the three of us. Right. So I think, stuff like that coming out of a neutral bookmaker is really, really tricky. It does certainly reflect the national neutral perspective that, Atlanta United's 1-3-2, but they have by far more talent than Colorado, and they're playing at home. On paper, -300 sounds absolutely reasonable on paper, but
they don't play the games on paper.
No, I wish they did. If they did, Atlanta United might be like 3-1-2 right now or something like that. That'd be great. Yeah. Or maybe 2-1-2 with an abandoned match in Columbus. I don't know, but I think that's telling. I think that tells you what the perception is nationally among neutral people for this match. And actually, to be quite honest with you guys, I think this could be a little bit of a spark to a run for Atlanta United because SKC now looks shaky. Toronto is a tricky midweek match, but then you play Orlando. If you get a couple wins together, then Orlando doesn't come in here smelling blood. And then, you have a winning streak all of a sudden. And the perception totally changes because you still have matches in hand. You're in very good shape to make the playoffs, even at this very early juncture of the season. So you just need to go out and play the way that we know they are capable of playing with the talent they have on this roster.
Yeah, it's a weird one because Colorado is a team that you would normally not have any fear about coming into your building. But the way this has gone, I think there is that uncertainty. What changes that to you? Is it just as simple as getting an early goal to change that?
Yeah, I think even, if we see that team sheet on Saturday at 5 and Franco Escobar's name is on there as a starter, and maybe even Pity Martinez's name is on there as a starter, maybe that even changes the feel a little bit. And I'm optimistic that we are going to see Franco in the starting 11. Now, I think that would be a big, big plus. I think if you plug him in, I'm assuming Bello's not there. So if you plug Escobar in at left back, you keep Parkey on the right, it just makes you feel a little bit better about being wider, maybe a tad bit less static. Although I think that's been a little bit of an unfair criticism, all this they're static off the ball critique. I get why some people are saying that, but I'm not sure it's fair. But I think just injecting Franco into this, and then Pitti, who has looked really spry and very effective in the limited time that he has played in the last two matches, I think it probably gives you a little bit more confidence, because now you're getting really close to your best 11. And then if Bello could somehow be on that team sheet too, even better. Maybe that's all it takes. But outside of that, Jason, I mean, it's early goal. You know that. Colorado feels like a team that would break pretty quickly if you get an early goal or two against them, and you get 45,000 fans really, really starting to get full throat into this match. And by the way, Tim Howard is more than capable of giving up plenty of goals, whether they come early, midway through, or late. So I feel really good about this match tomorrow, and I'll feel much better about it if I see Franco Escobar in the starting 11.
Because, yes, Tim Howard is a legendary legend in the annals of American soccer. But let me get into a thought that Jason had in hour number 1, and I want to get your musical thought on this. Mm-hmm. Now, Jason, how did you phrase it? The soundtrack to this particular match, was that how you had phrased it in your brain?
Well, it's, to me, for the team, you don't know what the vibe is going to be like in the stands. And that's kind of a new experience. And the players have talked about it a little bit, in that you don't know what the reaction is going to be from the crowd. And it's like when a band is on the way up and they go into a new town, and sometimes you get a crowd that is ready to go sing along with every song. They know all the words. They're amped from the opening chord. And then sometimes you go into a place and the crowd is kind of sitting back, stand on their heels, and they got their arms crossed, and they're like, show me. You're going to have to get me going now. And I feel like that's where Atlanta United is. Like, they've got to do things early in this match to get the crowd going, which is a new phenomenon for Atlanta.
I agree. Wow. I mean, in my 2 years doing this, I don't think we've really ever had that feeling for a home match before. I think there have been matches where you've been concerned, like the first leg against Red Bulls. And that's an example of Atlanta United scoring early and really breaking the ice. But, I think going into that match, there was a lot of concern. I mean, here's Red Bulls who've never beaten them before. You're going to have to beat them here in your home leg, and probably by multiple goals, and not concede a road goal. Can they do it? This is different. I think it's just, what do we have with these guys right now? And are they going to disappoint us again? And let me come back to the word disappointment. I think that I don't think people are angry. I think there are the outliers, and we've seen them on social media, who are just angry and angsty right now, and have gotten a tad bit petulant about all this. I think in general, this fan base has just been disappointed because their expectations are not being met. And some of that's probably fair. Some of it's probably not fair. But look, the team's got to give the fans a reason to cheer. They've got to give them a reason to not leave in the 85th minute when you give up a second goal, because the match is over. You've got to give your fans a reason to stay engaged for all 90 minutes. Regardless of what your opponent is trying to do, you've got to dictate the terms and control the tempo. Here again tomorrow, I think Atlanta United's got a really, really good opportunity to do that, like a great opportunity. 1 through 18, this is not even a discussion as far as who is more talented, more accomplished, all of that. It's Atlanta United. Now you got to go out and execute and give your fans a reason to be rowdy and proud for 90 minutes. Again, I think opening the roof is a big plus. And I think having nice weather tomorrow for tailgating, that helps. The vibe in the building last week was really, really weird. And I think a lot of it was because the weather cut into tailgating. There were other things going on around town. It was just kind of a weird blah.
It was gray. In general. It was a gray vibe.
Yeah. And now with one push of a button, you can change that. And I love it. I hope that we don't have an unexpected thunderstorm or an unexpected heat wave or something like that. I think going open roof is really going to change the vibe dramatically. And I like the fact it's a 45,000 game. I feel like there's been more energy in the building consistently for 45,000 games than 70,000 games. So everything's in place. I mean, everything's right there. Now you just got to go out and execute, as you guys have been saying. I have faith that they will. If they don't, I'll be extremely disappointed. And it'll be very, very hard for me to come up with a reason why they would not execute against this team.
Is there one guy from Colorado that concerns you, or is it just kind of sitting there and looking at Anthony Hudson having only won 8 times and knowing full well that Atlanta United is a better side? But is there somebody in your spot shadow for Colorado that could have throw a monkey wrench into all
I mean, obviously Kamara, because he scored 5 times already this year. And he would be a target on set pieces that would really have you concerned if Colorado. I mean, I don't think Alan Kelly's going to take any bait, but I mean, Colorado could still earn a free kick or look kind of sporty on corners. And Kai Kamara, you know, the thing I like this time around, and I know we didn't see Kai Kamara last year when Vancouver came to town. I still don't really know what happened there, but he didn't play. The thing you like is that you do have Miles Robinson now who can potentially neutralize some of that height on a set piece. But yeah, I mean, that Colorado's got quality. I mean, they went out, they got Benny Fellharber, Mosqueda, the bug. He can be a nice player. Kellen Acosta can be a nice player. We saw that last year. So, I mean, they've got quality. It's not like they're bums. It's not like this is a USL team or anything like that. But I really feel like if Kamara can't get service, if Atlanta United can deny him the ball, I don't see Colorado scoring. Now, whether Atlanta United can score would be the debate. But I think if you deny him the ball, you're going to be in good shape.
Yeah, they've gotten more defensive kind of over the course of the season. They came out, I think, wanting to play a 4-4-2 with Rubio and Kamara up high. They've kind of gotten away from that a little bit. It's Feilhaber underneath Kamara. Rubio's played out wide. Mosqueda's played out wide. I want to see how they deal with the absence of Jack Price. And that's the one thing that the Rapids haven't really shown any depth in the defensive midfield. And they have to replace Price. And you know they're going to come in and sit deeper. And you know they're going to play more defensive here because everybody does. Colorado is no exception to that. How they do it is one of the bigger question marks.
Who do you think the guy is, Jason? Is it Cole Bassett?
No, I think Bassett's not really built that way. I mean, I think you're looking at Kellen Acosta possibly, although you take away a lot from him if you play him in that role. You could go off the board a little bit and play a guy like Johan Blomberg there, who's only got 8 minutes on the season, but is a veteran and has played some in a holding midfield role. The other thing you could do, and they haven't done it yet, but it didn't stop Dallas from doing it, they could add a third center back. And they do have some different center backs who could come in and play. You've got Schoberg, you've got Smith, you've got Apare, you've got Wilson. You've got plenty of center backs. You don't have plenty of holding midfielders. You could do a scenario where its third center back comes in to essentially replace Price, and then you play a combination of an Acosta and a Blomberg, or an Acosta and even Benny Feilhaber dropping deeper, and them sitting a little more, but not playing with a true shut down number 6, because they don't have one. They don't really have a replacement for Price.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. That's one more check mark in the Atlanta United column, isn't it? I mean, Price is a big, big loss for them. And I still have not gone back and seen the foul. It was a straight red.
Yeah,
it was right at the end. It was right at the end of the match.
Yellow card on the
Chicago.
field. Video assistant referee came in and asked for it to be looked at, and it went to a red.
I mean, that's bad. When you're losing 4-0 and you've conceded 3 goals in the second half, and you have something like that happen right at the end of the match, I think that says a lot about where Colorado is as a team right now. But every week is a new week, and there's no better wake-up call for a team that's in that kind of spot mentally than coming into Mercedes-Benz Stadium.
It's true. It's going to be an interesting one. We'll be on the air tomorrow at 5:30. It's a 6 o'clock kick, which is kind of a weird kick time.
I like it. Oh,
yeah.
I love it. Yeah, I like it.
We get home for the West Coast games.
Yeah,
there's no West Coast games though.
Well, no, but you get all day to tailgate, and you can still have a nice dinner afterwards. I think it's perfect. True. I love it.
So get to the Gulch early, get the drinks in you, get the food in you, and then come into the bins and rock it out because I think the team needs that. I really do.
Yeah.
I think they need that boost on the opening whistle from the 17. So we'll be on 92.9 The Game for you tomorrow, and I'm looking forward to it, even as angsty as it feels.
I have a feeling in 36 hours, guys, we're going to be feeling a lot better about Atlanta United than we do right now.
I hope so. Mike.
Well, yeah, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do another week of this if things go south.
Oh boy, don't even scare me about that one. I'm gonna have nightmares tonight. All right, Mike, thanks for the time. We appreciate it.
See you guys.
We're gonna take a quick break. We'll be right back after this.
Today's show is presented by Appolinsky & Associates, personal injury lawyers with over 30 years of experience, supporters of Atlanta United, Faction, and Inter-Atlanta Youth Football Club. If you've been hurt in a wreck, contact Steve today at steve@aa-legal.com or call in 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
A ranger station.
I'd like to report a bear hug.
Okay.
I put out my campfire and Smokey Bear hugged me.
So you drowned the fire, you stirred it, drowned it again, and felt that it was cold?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, but he's just letting you know you did good.
Bear hug from Smokey Bear. Status update.
I'm gonna let you go now. There are many ways to start a fire, but one sure way to put it out. Learn how you can do your part at SmokeyBear.com.
Sponsored by the U.S. Forest Service Ad Council and your state forester.
We know that every driver is different, and a one-size policy does not fit all. That's why Country Financial offers a variety of discounts, so you get the coverage you need and the savings you deserve. From good driver to good student, multi-policy to multi-car, we've got a discount to suit every driver. Call Jason Wright at 678-568-6871 today to see what you could save. On Facebook at Jason Wright Agency or by phone at 678-568-6871. Discounts vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Preferred Insurance Company, or Country Casualty Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Every hiring manager knows that a company is only as good as the people it's made from. So where do you find the best people? That may surprise you.
Meet the grads of life. Young adults of unique determination and experience. An ideal fit for your company in an entry-level position, internship, or even mentorship. They might not have every qualification you typically look for, but they're exactly who your company needs.
This is talent worth knowing about.
Go to gradsoflife.org to learn how to find, cultivate, and train this great pool of untapped talent. Brought to you by the Ad Council and gradsoflife.org.
Welcome back. Weekend preview here on SDH. April 26th. No matches tonight in the NWSL, but there's 2 tomorrow and there's 2 on Sunday. The big one tomorrow is Orlando and Utah. Orlando had the really rough start with the loss at home to Portland, then going to face the team that beat Portland in the NWSL championship and getting thumped in North Carolina. But they picked themselves up, and they got a point in Tacoma against Reign FC. That is really impressive after the 5-0 thrashing by the Courage. They get Utah, who won their home opener on the weekend. That's an intriguing one for those two teams Saturday night. The thing about the NWSL for me, I think North Carolina is your best team on paper, but how are they going to deal with losing players during the World Cup? And a lot of teams are going to have that question. Portland is your next best team, and they're probably your biggest spenders in the league. So those are your top 2, and that's pretty well established. But beyond that, it's a crapshoot for 3 and 4 to get into the postseason. I could see any of them doing it, and each one has different challenges because of the being a World Cup year. There's a few teams that aren't going to be missing many people to the World Cup, and they're going to have an opportunity to pick up points in the summer. And then there's others who are going to be kind of up and down, and their depth is going to be tested. Orlando and Utah are right there in that 3-4 conversation, and this is one of those games early where both teams are at full strength that could end up meaning a whole lot by the end of the season.
Yeah, and Utah, we talked about the home crowd that showed up for their opener last go-round, and this is Orlando's fourth match already, which is kind of wild when you sit and think about it. And with Orlando heading into their fourth match, I think that they're going to be leaning into getting full points and working on goal difference. I mean, when you get thumped and your goal difference after 3 matches is at -7, you've got to do some work to get that minus closer to even or getting it back into the plus numbers. So, I mean, I don't necessarily see Orlando getting a full result this time around. I think it's probably a draw, but I think this could be one of the more entertaining matches of the weekend.
Yeah, they get it at home. They're not going to have their national team players for a whole lot longer, so this feels like a very important match for Orlando to try to go out and get the 3 points. Chicago and Tacoma, Reign FC, Seattle, Tacoma, whatever you want to call them, Reign FC.
SeaTac.
Yeah, it's basically that. On the NWSL website, it completely threw me because it still says Seattle, even though they're not Seattle.
Yeah, in the standing.
Yeah, anyway. The Red Stars host Reign FC, both teams with 2 draws on the season. I guess the draw would be the obvious play here.
Yes.
Chicago had the crazy 4-4 draw with Portland last week. It's another one where you've got teams who, will be missing very important pieces very soon. And how do they maximize what they have right now? Reign FC, to me, I think they're the stronger team, but can they go out on the road and can they go to Chicago and get full points? I'm not so sure of that.
Yeah, that for me is the larger question. So I think I'm looking at another draw here, but I think it'll be a fairly entertaining draw, probably a 2-2 kind of a thing.
Yeah, SeatGeek Stadium will be your site for that against Reign FC. 2 games on Sunday. Sky Blue hosting Portland Thorns. Sky Blue's been better on the field, and there's a really good behind-the-scenes over on The Athletic from Meg Linehan about everything going on, both on and off the field, with Sky Blue. It's better. I don't know if it's good enough to handle the Thorns coming to town.
No, and for those, once again, who wish this kind of information, Portland is at -156 to get the win there. I think that Portland gets it. Sky Blue is just they're in a world of hurt to me until further notice.
Game of the weekend for me is Houston hosting North Carolina. The Dash are the team that are probably going to be hit by the World Cup the least. Not to say they don't have a talented roster. It's just the way it actually plays out. They're not going to have as many call-ups as some of the others, and they're going to be able to take advantage of that. They're a team that could sneak into a playoff spot, and this is a good test for them at full strength against the full-strength North Carolina Courage, who will be missing quite a few players during the World Cup break. This is a measuring stick kind of game, I think, especially for the Dash at home.
Yes. No, I'm with you here. It's like, okay, we know what North Carolina brings to the table at full song, and I think that they're in a bit of a mental sprint to get as many points as humanly possible before World Cup, knowing that they're going to have some pieces missing. So I think that a motivated -137 for the Courage going up against Houston, I think it's going to be a tight one. I'm looking probably at 2-1 for Courage to get it, but I think it'll be a good showing for Houston on the road.
Yeah, no, Houston gets the game at home here in this one, and
that's right.
Yeah, it's a big opportunity for them to pick up 3. They did go on the road and get the 3 against Sky Blue last week, and they had to battle for it. But you're looking to, players like Sofia Huerta, who's been kind of on the edge of the national team pool, but hasn't really been able to stick. You get Christy Mewis back as well, and you're going to have potentially Mewis versus Mewis crime in this one with Houston and North Carolina. We'll see how that one goes down. And the Dash also get Kealia Ohai back after her injury last season. So it feels like Houston is a team that can compete. They're not going to miss too many players during the World Cup, but this is a game where if you're going to compete, you have to do it against the top dog, and that's North Carolina. One last bit of news before we get Doug Roberson on the line to talk Atlanta, Colorado. The women's ICC matchups were announced yesterday. Olympic Lyon will take on Atletico Madrid on August 15th in Cary, North Carolina. The hosts, the North Carolina Courage, will take on Manchester City in the other semifinal. Winners will play on August 18th, which is a Sunday, and the third-place match will be right before it. So if you're looking for a very intriguing international women's soccer competition, Cary, North Carolina is the site, August 15th and August 18th. That might be a road trip, especially for those semifinal matches. That might just be a road trip.
Yeah, it would have to be a quick turn, sir, considering that we have an Atlanta United 2 match on the 16th, so it might be a back and forth with a rental car for that weekend.
Been there, done that before. That might be worth it for that one. We're going to take a break. We'll get Doug Roberson from the HAC on to talk Atlanta and Colorado right after this.
As a business owner, you know that every year brings new challenges and opportunities. The success of your business demands expertise and focus. And Country Financial can help you keep that focus by helping ensure you have the right insurance protection in place to meet your goals. Jason Wright can help you create a customized insurance plan that has coverages designed just for your business. Give Jason a call at 678-568-6871 or reach him on Facebook at Jason Wright Agency. Coverages vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Got issues with youth or high school sports? Positive Coaching Alliance can help. PCA is a national nonprofit working to transform youth and high school sports so that every child has a positive character-building youth sports experience. PCA provides live and online workshops to train double-goal coaches whose first goal is winning and whose second, more important goal is teaching life lessons through sports. PCA also has workshops for parents and high school student-athletes. For more information, please visit positivecoach.org.
If you've been hurt in a car wreck, contact my friend Steve Apolinsky of Apolinsky & Associates. He's been representing individuals for over 30 years throughout Georgia and Alabama. Email him at steve@aa-legal.com or call him 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
I adopted Bento in 2010 from a shelter. This cat makes me make art. He's always motivating me to draw pictures of him. He just is motivating artistically. He's my best friend, but a lot of people know him as Keyboard Cat.
Keyboard Cat, YouTube star and shelter pet. Amazing adoption stories start in shelters. Start yours today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org to find a pet near you. Brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
Welcome back. Soccer Down here, April 26th. Getting ready for Atlanta and Colorado Rapids tomorrow at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. As we always do ahead of a match day, or sometimes on a match day when it's midweek, we talk to Doug Roberson from the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. What's up, Doug?
How are you?
Doing well. Getting ready for a weird match at Mercedes-Benz tomorrow. It has a weird feel around it. I can't even compare this to any other match in Atlanta United's history, just the vibe coming into it.
Maybe after the road trip to D.C. and Philadelphia in 2017, but they were about to open Mercedes-Benz, so there was excitement related to that. That's the only other one I can think of that's kind of similar.
So then you look at this week, Doug, and what has the vibe been like from what you've been able to glean from both players and fans about the edginess, I guess is a word to use in all of this. What adverb would you use or what adjective would you use to describe this and how have the players been looking at it and how have the fans been talking to you about it?
You came in really, really loud right there. That's why I went, whoa, into my earpiece.
Yep.
No, the players seem fine. The players seem confident. I mean, you could sense there is a little bit of stress simply because the results are they just can't score on offense despite creating chances, and on defense, every mistake is getting punished. And that's stressful because it multiplies on itself. But the players are stressed. You're not going to convince people whose minds are made up, even though the facts they're basing their opinions on aren't accurate. So I've kind of given up on that. And so we'll see what happens on Saturday.
Yeah, it feels like a match where, Atlanta has to come in, and as much as they have to take control of the match early for just soccer purposes, because that's what you have to do. You need to get early goals. You can't concede early goals. It does feel like they come in with a bit of a situation where you kind of have to prove it to the fans that things are going okay because of all those questions swirling around right now.
Yeah, no, that's true. And I was listening to the show when Mike was on before me, and I think he's right in that if they can just get a couple of goals early, that everything is going to be right in the world. Because that's just the worrisome thing right now. The defense, we talked about this on Southern Fried Soccer, and I wrote about it earlier this week on the blog. The mistakes being made by the defense aren't new. Atlanta United has made these mistakes the past 2 years. The biggest difference the past 2 years was that the team was typically leading those games. So the impact wasn't as great. And right now they're not leading any games. And so the mistakes are magnified. But I think Atlanta United will score a few goals and everything will be right in the world going into the next set of games.
So then are you looking at, say, Escobar starting, PT starting, knowing that you can't take a risk with the lineup with Sporting and Toronto and Orlando not being able to rest people? You can't think about that. You've got to put the guys out there that can get you the result and not worry about things later. It's get things squared away now.
Well, yeah. I mean, you only going to play the game you're going to play. And I think DeBoer has proven with the team selection in the season opener at DC that he's not going to be worried about the next game. Tata Martino was the same way. So people can't criticize DeBoer for that. So I think you'll probably see a strong lineup. I asked Frank yesterday if there was a high probability that we were going to get to see Joseph and Pitti and Barco and Nagbe and Diaba on the field at the same time for the first time this season. And he said, it's a possibility, but then he went on to talk about the balance needed in the formation, offense versus defense. So it makes me think that it's not as probable. And at that point, who's going to sit? I'm guessing Diaba, but I'm not quite sure. And Escobar, I think Parkhurst played decently as a right fullback, considering he hadn't played it since, I think, the Champions League. He got a few crosses in, and just his second game, I think the more he gets to do it, the better he will be, if that's what DeBoer wants to do. And Franco, I guess, could slide in on the left, but he's not left-footed. Shea's really the only naturally left-footed player in that 11, I think, unless I'm losing my mind. I could be losing my mind. So I think they'd probably like to keep him on the field.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how many minutes you can get out of Escobar, out of Pitti in this one, and what knock-on effects that has in the lineup. Eric Remedi as well, another question mark in terms of how many minutes you could get out of Remedi if he's available here.
I think if they were in the starting lineup, Escobar and Remedi, and probably even Pitti at this point, I think you could get 90 out of each of those guys. I mean, Eric was playing 90 before the concussion. I think he's fine. Franco has been training now for 3 weeks, I think. 2 or 3 weeks? Yeah, 3 weeks now. He should be able to go 90. And Pitti seems like he's ready to go 90 if needed. It's just a matter of, does Frank choose them for the lineup?
Yeah, I think the other thing that does factor into is if you do have any concerns. I think all you would be thinking that all could go 90 here, but if you're not guaranteed on all of them, then that's maybe 3 guys that you have substitution concerns on, and that's 3 subs. You don't want to be in that situation unless you have to, but that's where Atlanta United is right now. You might have to because you can't risk anything at this point. You've got to pick up your 3 points here in the easiest game that you're going to have for another month, 5 weeks before you get to that Gold Cup break. This is your best chance to get 3 points. You can't do anything to put that at risk.
That's true. That's a great point. That's why you are the man.
That's debatable.
I would give you a shout out, but Payson told me on Twitter that's not a thing anymore, so I can't do that.
I don't know if Payson, the king of the dad jokes, is the person you want to be listening to on What's the Thing or not.
There you go.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
And
another shout out for that.
Yes. And since you mentioned injuries, I just want to get your quick take on Chris Gosselin being back. We saw on his Instagram feed, or what do the kids call it these days, Jason? The gram or the IG?
It's Change-A-Gram.
Okay, so the gram. So we saw Chris Gosselin on the gram back at training and going through his paces. What's it like to see Gosselin back out there and hopefully having him sooner rather than later back to full song?
He's been back for a couple of weeks, actually. He's been training with Atlanta United, too, for a couple of weeks. I don't expect he's going to get any minutes with the senior team this season, simply because he missed all the preseason and the first 2 months of the season. But I'm looking forward to seeing him get some minutes with Atlanta United, too. He's been a bit unlucky since signing his homegrown contract with Atlanta United. Of the 5 homegrowns they've signed, none of them have been able to get any consistent minutes for whatever reasons. And Gosselin seems to be the unluckiest of all of them. So I'd love to see him get some minutes with 2, just so we can see what he can do.
Yeah, very frustrating injury history with Chris Gosselin. It seems like every time he gets going a little bit with a consistent set of matches or a call-up to a youth national team, there's a setback, and it's been a knee. I think his post on Instagram was that he's back fully now. I'd been told that coming back from a knee injury from late last season in USL, he was off to the side for quite a while. He was not a full participant up until, I guess, very recently. It's just building fitness back. I mean, you're talking no preseason. You're talking really no finish to last season, and it's a process, and it's tough. And this is a big year for Chris Gosselin where you're looking to him to show, the potential that we've seen and the U.S. youth national teams have seen, and we saw in the U17 World Cup not that long ago. It's just
right.
He hasn't been able to do it in an Atlanta United kit on a regular basis. Hopefully we see Chris Gosselin with Atlanta United too soon. I'd be shocked if it was this weekend in Ottawa, but maybe in the upcoming weeks. Let's get into predictions, though, for Saturday. It's Colorado Rapids come into town to the Benz. This is part of the segment is presented by Steve Apolinski of Apolinski and Associates, sponsoring our Bailey Daily poll as well. Make sure you're following Josh Bailey, JBailey86, to get your pick in for the Bailey Cup. John, you get to start so you don't steal anybody else's pick. Are you picking 2-1 as you always do?
Actually, no. I don't think that Colorado scores. I'm going to go 2-0. Very comfortable 2-0 win.
Okay, 2-0. Shocking. No faith in Kai Kamara. All right. Doug,
no faith in my Jose Mourinho selection as well.
Yeah, anyway. What do you think, Doug?
I think I don't like expected goals. And I was a little surprised at the number of people who don't seem to like expected goals. So that was a nice surprise. I think, notwithstanding expected goals, Atlanta United wins 3-0.
Okay. I'm going to go 3-1. I do think there's a goal late, and it's on a set piece. I don't think it's going to really amount to much. I'm kind of with you on the 3 part, though, Doug. I think this team gets goals early, and I think they get a couple of them early. I do. I think they come out and they have it's not so much they haven't had an intensity, but there are times when you have to dial it up to another level of intensity, and this feels like one of those times. You wish you didn't have to against the worst team in the league, but that's where you're at right now. You got to do something positive, and you got to show something positive, and I think they're going to come out with that in mind from the get-go, and you'll get a couple goals. Concede one late when it's already 3-0 on a set piece, something fluky, and it's a 3-1 comfortable win is what I'm hoping for. And maybe the expected goal number gets to 4 for Atlanta United. Maybe that's where we're talking about. We'll see.
I do not know.
Yeah, XG is a tough one. For me, it's like most stats, and I was having this conversation with somebody from the UK and media about stats and how much more important they are in the US versus in British coverage of the game, and they just open up a conversation. I don't think there is a stat outside of goals that tells you everything you need to know. I think they can point you in the right direction. They can give you a snapshot and they can give you a picture of a match, but they don't tell you the story of the match. It's not like other sports. It's just not. And XG is right there with everything else. It's just it can point you in the right direction, but it doesn't explain everything. And there's no way it can. Right. You had a piece about XG, and you've had a lot of pieces this week. What else do you have coming up between now and kickoff over at the Atlanta Journal-Constitution?
I just published kind of a preview about how Atlanta United has 2 streaks going that it probably wants to snap, and that's the not winning at home, and that is the Joseph Martinez not scoring from the run of play since Philadelphia. That penalty kick in the final seconds against Dallas was his only goal in the past few weeks. And one kind of affects the other. So we'll see if Martinez can get a goal, if Atlanta United will win on Saturday against Colorado, and then I'll have all the coverage that I hope everyone appreciates or enjoys at the very least. On Saturday, the game story right at the whistle, the player ratings, Southern Fried Soccer podcast. I've already put out my predicted 11, which was entirely offensive minded because I figured they got to score, and this is as good a team as they need to do it against. And then we'll see what happens in the game, and I'll write about that.
Looking forward to it, Doug. We'll see you tomorrow. Make sure you're following Doug Roberson, AJC on Twitter, Atlanta United News Now on Facebook, and make sure you're subscribing to the AJC. So this type of level of coverage that no other city in the United States has continues. Got to subscribe, got to consume it, and shout it out. So thanks, Doug. We appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. We'll see you later.
See you tomorrow.
You got it.
And we're going to take our final break right here. We'll be back after this.
Today's show is presented by Appolinsky & Associates, personal injury lawyers with over 30 years of experience, supporters of Atlanta United, Faction, and Inter-Atlanta Youth Football Club. If you've been hurt in a wreck, contact Steve today at steve@aa-legal.com or call in 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
A ranger station.
I'd like to report a bear hug.
Okay.
I put out my campfire and Smokey Bear hugged me.
So you drowned the fire, you stirred it, drowned it again, and felt that it was cold?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, he's just letting you know you did good.
Bear hug from Smokey Bear. Status update.
I'm gonna let you go now. There are many ways to start a fire, but one sure way to put it out. Learn how you can do your part at SmokeyBear.com.
Sponsored by the U.S. Forest Service Ad Council and your state forester.
We know that every driver is different, and a one-size policy does not fit all. That's why Country Financial offers a variety of discounts, so you get the coverage you need and the savings you deserve. From good driver to good student, multi-policy to multi-car, we've got a discount to suit every driver. Call Jason Wright at 678-568-6871 today to see what you could save. On Facebook at Jason Wright Agency or by phone at 678-568-6871. Discounts vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Preferred Insurance Company, or Country Casualty Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Every hiring manager knows that a company is only as good as the people it's made from. So where do you find the best people? That may surprise you.
Meet the grads of life. Young adults of unique determination and experience. An ideal fit for your company in an entry-level position, internship, or even mentorship. They might not have every qualification you typically look for, but they're exactly who your company needs.
This is talent worth knowing about.
Go to gradsoflife.org to learn how to find, cultivate, and train this great pool of untapped talent. Brought to you by the Ad Council and gradsoflife.org.
Final segment. Sauger down here. Busy week, busy weekend ahead. Lots of MLS matches. We've talked NWSL. You can watch those over at Yahoo Sports. I'm definitely checking out that Houston, North Carolina match Sunday at 6, and I'll be checking that out after Atlanta United 2 plays in Ottawa Sunday afternoon. USL Championship, big week ahead for them as well. Go back and check out, if you haven't had a chance to hear it, the USL Championship in 10 from earlier this week before the games on Wednesday, if you want to get caught up on all the latest around the championship. The big game in the league, in my mind, is tonight, and it's in Albuquerque. It is Albuquerque. It's New Mexico United at Isotopes Park hosting the Portland Timbers 2. 1 versus 2 in the Western Conference, and I haven't seen much of Portland this year. It's a team that is built like most of the 2 teams. It's going to have some young guys on loan. It's going to have some academy prospects, and it's going to have some up-and-coming young professionals. I have seen New Mexico United a fair bit, and they are a fun team to watch, and that'll be a great atmosphere. Santi Moar, the Spanish midfielder, he's been player of the month. He's been multiple-time player of the week. Devin Sandoval, who played for Atlanta United 2 last year, longtime MLS veteran. It's a fun team to watch. It's a fun atmosphere as well. They'll have 13,000 tonight at Isotopes Park. So ESPN Plus, 9:30 kick there. That's my evening viewing in the championship. You have 4 games tonight, but that is definitely the big one. Saturday, matches to keep an eye on. Tampa Bay, they're still undefeated after their win over the Twos. On Wednesday, they host the Charlotte Independents. That should be another win for Tampa Bay. Charlotte's been poor this season. Birmingham Legion has been on a bit of a run. They're hosting Loudoun United over at BBVA Compass Field in Birmingham. Check in on Legion, see how they look. Memphis hosting Charleston at AutoZone Park in Memphis. Up and down for Memphis. They had a bad week where they lost to the Twos. They lost to Nashville in their big rivalry match. They'll be a little angry. Charleston's coming in after a big win over Nashville, and if you haven't seen the opening goal from that one, Jared Van Schaik, outstanding left-footed half volley off the hop to open the scoring, and it was a big win for Charleston. They needed that kind of statement win.
Jared Van Schaik also is in the player spotlight in Charleston Battery Weekly, which is now also up on the platform, went up last night. Poppy Miller, and we do get into the discussion about 90s night, which happened at MUSC Health Stadium last week. And so it was a discussion that you and I had off the air about what to wear and how gung-ho do you get into it, and Poppy and Derek got into it full. I'm looking also at Red Bulls and Indy 11. Can Dane Kelly continue to be hot? So yeah. I think that's another one for me in the East.
Yeah, that's on Sunday, and that's after Atlanta United 2 goes to Ottawa. It's a 2 o'clock kick for the Twos Sunday afternoon. You can watch on ESPN+. It's a great venue at Ottawa. It should look great on TV. The Twos are going to be looking to bounce back. Very interested to see what the lineup could be. And that's where you get into some of these challenges with weekend games where the first team's playing as well. Who makes the trip from the first team to Ottawa? Do you see an Andrew Carlton and Dion Pereira go with the Twos to play 90 as opposed to being available off the bench with the first team to play maybe 10, 15, if that? That's a tough decision for Frank de Boer, and Stephen Glass is kind of in a situation where he's waiting to see what he's going to have. And you've got your guys who are on USL deals who will be waiting to see as well. Are they going to get into the lineup for this one? Is Jackson Conway going to get the start up top after a couple good performances from him. The 2's in Ottawa, Sunday afternoon at 2 o'clock. So I think my weekend is looking like New Mexico tonight. Then Dallas and San Jose from the booth tomorrow afternoon.
Right.
And, of course, Five Stripes. I'll get home in time to see Kansas City finish things up in the 8:30 game tomorrow night. Then Sunday it'll be the 2's at 2, which is perfect, and Houston Dash, North Carolina Courage at 6 on Yahoo. That's a pretty good weekend, and that's a wide variety of stuff this weekend that are all looking to be really quality matchups with a lot of storylines and all those. So thank you, ESPN Plus and Yahoo Sports and Univision for taking care of me this weekend.
Yep. And I know that once the MLS matches are done, I'll be probably checking in for a little late night Sabado Futbolero in Liga MX, and be catching up with that as well. So it will be a full weekend of football on devices, multiple devices, not just device of choice, but multiple devices, whether it's in Office HD or the small screen or sitting in the booth at the press box at Mercedes-Benz.
Yeah, why do you call it Office HD, by the way? I think people might be confused by that.
Because I'm sitting in front of my computer, and it is not an HD screen. But once I turn to my left, I think it's a 55-inch screen that will have any number of multiple programs, and so it's an office that no longer just has a very small television in it. It has the large television down here in the office to go with. Therefore, it is an HD TV.
Okay.
I'm no longer in the 20th century when it comes to my television viewing habits in the office.
All right. Okay. Just wondering. I wasn't sure. I didn't know if you had something that made your office more high def than anybody else's.
Certainly you don't want that looking at me this time of the morning. No, it's just the rather large monitor off to my left that I can watch any number of different things.
Fair enough. We do have when did this got dropped? No, people retweeted an Adidas thing that Adidas athletes on the 2019 FIFA Women's World Cup team will receive the same performance bonus payouts as their male peers. That's okay. That just came out. Good stuff from Adidas there. Sorry, I was trying to get more context here, and it was just shared again. Adidas will give all of their athletes, now this is players who are sponsored by Adidas, the same performance bonus payout as their male peers. It's not the win bonus from FIFA. It's not any of that. But shout out to Adidas. That's good. I think we're starting to see more of these types of things get announced. We know about the sponsorship that is essentially making up the difference on the bonuses for making the World Cup roster for the U.S. women.
Cliff Bar?
It's Luna Bar, which is a subsidiary of Cliff Bar. So good stuff there. I don't think everything has been like officially knocked out there publicly, but that's how that's going to work. It's a sponsorship, but it is a payout that will go to each of the players who make the final roster to make up for the difference between what the U.S. women's players who make the final roster get versus what the U.S. men's players get. So Luna Bar's doing it. Adidas is doing it. We'll keep an eye because there will be a lot more as we get into the Women's World Cup. Fox announced yesterday, if you didn't see, that the World Cup Tonight broadcast that was on Twitter last time around, that's going to continue for the Women's World Cup. Aaron West is going to be a big part of that one. You'll remember him from Copa 90. Another good commitment. That's something that I'll be looking forward to, and I think there's a lot of opportunity here with storylines and sharing storylines of players that, look, I don't know as well. I don't know the international women's players from other countries and other leagues as well as I know the U.S. women, or as well as I know some of the men's players from other countries. I want to see that stuff. I want to learn more about it. I want to have those conversations about Jamaica and about Spain, who is my dark horse. I want to see more of that, and full credit to Fox for providing that this time around. I wondered if they would match what they did on the men's side, and they're doing it.
And I think that having multiple screens doing multiple things, it's always a good thing, because I know that a lot of folks are just kind of locked into the idea of looking at things through one prism, but seeing what Fox and Fox Soccer and Fox Sports are looking to do with Women's World Cup coverage, and giving you the depth that you may not get in other places just looking at it on a screen, and you can go someplace else and get that depth. I think that it's cool that they're doing it for the Women's World Cup as well.
Yeah, it's a big deal, and Karina LeBlanc will be joining Aaron West on that. It'll air every match day during the 2019 Women's World Cup. So as busy as this weekend is watching games on multiple platforms, this summer is going to be even crazier with a Women's World Cup, with a Copa America, and with a CONCACAF Gold Cup to deal with, alongside U.S. Open Cup, alongside some MLS matches as well, USL Championship, NWSL, USL League One, all of the things. Get ready. Rest up when you can. Take naps. And
learn the value of the nap. I can't take a nap. I'm not a napping person.
I'm not a good napper. I struggle with it. I'm going to have to get better at it, though, with all of this craziness. I'm going to have to get better at it over the next month with all of the craziness with the Atlanta United schedule. So yeah, this weekend, it's a big one. It's Colorado coming to town. It shouldn't be this big because it's Colorado coming to town, but it is this big because of where the results have been this season. Can Atlanta United snap out of it? We will find out. 6 o'clock is your kick. Kickoff will be just after 6. You can watch on Fox Sports Southeast, if I'm not mistaken. Want to make sure that I give you the correct information as I am looking. Is it Southeast or is it South?
Yeah. You and I both are sitting here
Pretend
going, okay,
that this
which
would be
one?
edited. It is Southeast. I did have it right.
There you go.
Just after 6 o'clock kick. We're on air, 92.9 The Game and radio.com, your app, or on your tablet or desktop or laptop or however else you want to listen. 5:30 for the Five Stripes Countdown. Kickoff just after 6 with a full-time report for an hour after the final whistle. We'll have the Soccer Down Here tailgate show presented by Appolinsky and Associates. 2:30 is what we're shooting for.
There you go.
It's always a fluid time. There's things. It's a crazy day. But 2:30-ish, and you can watch that on Twitter at Soccer Down Here for that. If you're in the fantasy league, make sure you get your lineups adjusted based off what you've seen in the midweek, what you've heard in the midweek, because you can't take your players out who played in the midweek. Hopefully you got them right. Hopefully you can find some other plays. Well, we already knew that. But hopefully you can get some other plays that'll get you
Captaining
points.
Zlatan was such a great idea.
Well, he's got another game where he might add you some points. So don't dismiss the Zlatan so quickly.
I can't swap him out.
You've got another game, John. He's gonna play
my
again.
Other players: Vela, Barco, Pizzuelo, Reto Ziegler. Those are the 4 that I have for the weekend.
Okay. Well, you got to hope your guys who didn't perform in the midweek perform in the second game, because that'll count too. That'll count too. Anyway.
Everybody.
Fingers crossed for John's fantasy team, or else he's going to break things.
Sad Panda or Angry Panda. Maybe swiping computers off of Office Desk Panda GIF here.
Yeah, something like that. If Zlatan doesn't redeem himself for Mr. Nelson.
For real.
We'll see what happens. All right, so fantasy lineups, get them done. Make sure you go to my prize picks if you're feeling the daily fantasy bug. You use the code SDH to get some of your initial deposit matched. You also get a free $25 play. If you win on that $25 play, you can turn that into some pretty nice coin. And you've got MLS, you've got all the other sports, and you can mix and match. So go check that out. Use the code SDH over at My Prize Picks. Download the app for iOS, and we'll be talking about all of that and a match and a lot of other matches on Monday for an Overreaction Monday here at SDH. 9 o'clock Monday morning, we'll be back. But until then, we're going to be running around watching as many soccer games as possible on as many different platforms and devices as imaginable. Adios. Mucho plati, y'all.
Mucho plati.